What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Tarun's Thoughts. My name's Tarun Shetty. These are my thoughts. Thought I would go live today. Hope you guys are doing well. It's reporting from this Florida Lanai. I know I rarely go live, but why not? Why not? If you guys are having a good weekend. Haven't really been on the Lanai recently. I've been kind of busy with stuff. It's insanely bright here in Florida. I was doing comedy this weekend. Let's tell you about my weekend. Of course, I was at Coconuts Comedy Club Friday, which was not the best show. I'll tell you about that show, though. I was up for a job at QVC this past year, and I didn't get it. And I ran into the other comic on the show is a host on Home Shopping Network, and she's like a big deal out here in Florida. And I talked to her, and she was like, yeah, it's hard to do stand-up because I'm on TV all the time. So I was like, oh, maybe there's a reason why I didn't get that job. Like, it was nice to hear her perspective, someone who actually works on the show. And of course, everybody bombed on that show because the show sucked. I'm just gonna tell you, everyone just sucked ass on that show because the audience was dead. It's never the comedian's fault. It's the audience's fault sometimes. And then yesterday, I was in Palm Harbor. I was doing this show called Snappers. It's this comedy club. It's a nice room. It's Palm Harbor. I've never been there before. See, the thing about comedy is you get to go to these, fantastic Florida towns and just explore, see places and meet people that you'd never run into. Like, I would never go to Palm Harbor ever in my life, but last night I was in Palm Harbor, making friends with the locals. I was doing a guest spot in my friend Paul Farver's show. He's a headliner out from Chicago, and he does shows. And I mentioned this, like, I like hanging out with people who are doing stuff, and we get along well, and we know a lot of the same people. So I did a guest spot on his show, and I was watching Paul. He did like an hour on stage, which is a long time for me. And I was like, man, I gotta tighten things up. But I did a guest spot, and I'm not gonna trash any comedian, but on a show, there's usually an opener, a middler, and a headliner. Right? The opener does 8 to 10 minutes, warms up the crowd. The middle guy feature, as it's called in comedy terms, really gets them going, and then the headliner closes the show, like bang. Like, that's why people are there to see the show. So I'm doing a guest spot, right? I'm doing like 8 minutes or 10 minutes or something. And, I've seen this girl around in the Florida mics. And and it's my first time in this club, and I want to tape it so I can send it to the owner because he's not there, so I can, get more stage time there. And she brings me up. It's kind of packed, and she's like, "Coming to the stage now, Tarun Shitty." I was like, God damn it, of course I've heard that joke all my life, like when I was a kid. It doesn't bother me. Like, nothing really bothers me on stage, but but your job as a host is to introduce, the one job you have is to introduce the comedian. Like, say his name or her name correctly. Like, I don't care about my credits, but just say my name correctly. But when you say that, the audience is, it's like a white trash audience. They're thinking, oh, is his last name really that? Well, that's what's going through my head anyways. And it happened so quickly, I didn't even have time to, really think of a joke or anything. I just kind of... And it kind of threw me off. I just kept saying my name. I was like, yeah, my name's Tarun Shetty, And it just totally threw me off the first 30 seconds to a minute, where I was like, I should probably post that. I actually recorded it. I should just post that part so you guys can see it for yourself. But it totally threw me off. And, the set was fine, but, the first minute's a big deal. And, it was my fault for not being quick enough, but it's mostly her fault because she's the host of the show, right? And, of course, I talked to her afterwards. I've met her before, and I was, she asked me for advice, and I was like, look, she's just getting comfortable on stage. You can't, ream her too much. And she told me, oh, I'm so sorry. She apologized. I was reading your name off my hand. And I was like, why are you reading my name off your hand? It's one person. Like, just memorize it. Anyways, so that was my night. And then afterwards, I hung out with Paul. And that's the one thing about being a comedian that I sometimes miss. I miss hanging out with my friends in LA, who I like just, I'm not a big social guy, but I do like going out once in a while. But in Florida, you're just kind of lone wolfing it, living, doing things by yourself all the time. It gets maddening. So that was my night. I think I'm gonna take tonight off, go to Cheesecake Factory with my dad, and just, you know, do my script stuff. I was telling my dad, I was like, Dad, is this it? Is this really gonna be it? My dad was like, we should go on vacation somewhere. Just take a holiday somewhere. I'll pay for it. And I was like, hey, sounds good, Dad. Pick a country. Let's go. It's life, guys. But that was my weekend. I think it was a good weekend. Anytime I leave the house, it's a good weekend. And it was a busy week, so I need today to recharge and get situated again. I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Thanks for watching. How do I shut this thing off? End!